Alistair McClower, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good, thank you. I
Yeah.
like the pronunciation too. How are
So,
you, man? How are you doing? Sorry, I couldn't make it down to the studio today.
yeah, that's all good. That's all good. It's we're in a bit of an odd place out the way. So, I mean,
I think we both are, man. We got that lucky privilege.
fair enough. But we're here to talk about everything you do, which is, well, do you want to introduce it yourself before I completely make it just terrible intro?
No, I like that. They're the best ones. So I'm Alistair, I guess designer and founder of About, independent publishing house, open collective, and we just like to make a ruckus and try and produce the best quality books we can. And that's pretty much all I can say on that. We try and keep it simple and then let the art speak for itself, really.
Nice. And well, you caught my eye on Instagram because you present things quite differently than a lot of other publishing houses, to the point where I didn't even realize that was what you were until I spoke to you. But I just saw it and was like really sort of intrigued.
Yeah, man, we try and focus on an approachability. Um, I guess where I'm located, there probably isn't too many people overly interested in pretty niche coffee table publications. There's probably not many at all. So we tried to kind of first and foremost bring ourselves to the table, bring the people that was around us doing creative things, and outwardly look as a publishing house to kind of not only cover books, written media, printed media, publish music, publish spaces, food, maybe interesting pop-up little restaurant scenarios, and kind of fuse that all in to these, I guess you call them book parties,
So
where we
yeah,
kind of release a book and have a whole sing and dance around it usually.
so where did it sort of come from? You're supposed to be briefly. It like started in about 2021. Like, what led
Yeah,
you to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to start doing?
yeah, that's a tricky one still. I mean, without sounding too corny, I mean, we spoke on this earlier. About the back of uni, a lot of you are looking around thinking, what the do we do here? How do we get our shit where we want it? You have these great ideas and all these beautiful places you've been, maybe shows you've seen, and you kind of want to reach for that, right? And we thought, who else better to do it than us? And publish ourselves, publish our mates, and try and get everyone on. And that was doing something special, really.
Sick. So yeah, straight out of COVID, and then was it? Did you publish your first book during COVID or after?
So the first book would have come about, it would have been during COVID. We did the collaboration with Leonardo Montanaro, who I was living with in Norwich at the time. He's from Rome originally, and we made a book called Sundays. Just kind of him reminiscing with all of these really kind of overexposed, really grainy photos from the south coast in Italy, and kind of all of these lazy days spent chilling, killing, drinking wine, feeling a little sun, and kind of reminiscing on that and kind of reaching to that through these photos. And there was a lot of typographic play that sat with that. And then that kind of spilled into the second, which was The Eighth Wonder of the World, with Grace Easterbrook, another person we lived with at the time. So it was always really organic in the start. We didn't have the privilege we have now where super sick people are reaching out to us from other cities. Or we can reach out to even bigger people and be took somewhat seriously. Back then we was literally just doing it and reaching for what we had available. And again, that 800 of the Wild was Grace being a fashion student. She was like obsessed with materials, not just clothes, materials. And the only like shop that was open was a corner shop on the corner. We did this whole photo shoot, and she was one these like super iconic overlaw kind of super trashy kind of tracksuit things around the house, and we took a shoot with her in the corner shop with that, and that ended up making a cover for something I can't remember, fashion related, and she was sat with all of these photos, and I was like, she's looking at the fucking top. There's nothing going on. Literally everything's closed. You can't even go like, I don't know, to pub till a bit of time. Like, there's nothing. So we all knuckled down and just reached for what we had. And yeah, I guess it was like super organic, man. I mean, none of it's really accounted for. The only reason we probably know it's all in order is because we pushed ourselves to publish it. I think a lot of work you just like, it's there. You're not too aware of what it is or why sometimes you're doing it. But with About, I had like a clear vision, like it's about putting on what you think's important and kind of ignoring everything else.
Just kind of making your own rules, running your own race, sort of. Like,
fucking it, man, yeah.
Which is the and. So yeah, since 2021, how's it sort of evolved and adapted? Because you've also talked about sort of the idea of it being an open collective as well.
Yeah, that's a big part, because obviously there's been a few moves throughout. It started in Norwich. The first book was made with a gal in Rome. The first Norwich collaboration with a gal from London. So already there was never the intention to be like, who I'm working with is going to be sat in this room forever, start bickering about what we're going to do or why we're going to do it. And at the same time, it's not going to be like other publishing houses where you publish in amongst a fuckload of other artists, all come together. There's no like narrative function to the book. Each one of these guys have their own book. And in terms of the open collective thing, you can walk away with that, and that's your credit. Right? Mm-hmm. And then we had others who wanted to do 4 or 5 books and have them since. So there's no stress really, you can come and go, do your thing, and that's about it really. Yeah, an open collective makes it sound a little more pieced together. But that's the honesty behind it.
That's cool. And then also spoke a little bit about sustainability as well. So it's like you're making books, there's some ecological costs, so what's your sort of take on that?
Well, this is a big thing, yeah. I mean, the cool thing about a physical editorial is in printed media is if you want to get rid of it, you're going to have to set it on fire or shoot it. You can't really erase these items, and that's what makes the power of print so tangible and so important in like sharing ideas, even when it comes to religious texts or anything. The written media can't be like fucked with. It can't be edited. It can't be removed too easily. And when it comes to producing these items, you got to think, yeah, that's amazing. If you want to share great ideas and you don't want them to be erased, you don't want them to be tampered with. But what happens afterwards? You've got this physical item, you've got to be responsible for that too, and that's what we look to do in everything we started really. And at a cost at first. It was a really bad idea in terms of my pocket. Because none of this shit's like funded, we don't really do any of that. I have done that in my own work, but with this I was like, I wanted an honesty in like what was going on, and the product still had to be great. It didn't really matter if I was skint at there. And then, luckily through J.F. Smith, which you kind of access, I mean, bloody hell, their paper's the best on planet Earth. They literally have paper consultants, dude. They rock up like the Men in Black of paper. Who do the little suits ready? They've got endless booklets, samples, the beautiful. Everyone knows the big J.F. Smith sample book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've just gone under an interesting rebrand with Kahoo or something. I can't quite remember the name, but they've redesigned what G.S. Smith has run for the last decade. This box format that could open up into a sphere of some sense, and you can engage with it that way. Now it's a circular format, and it can flow, it can open. But with that redesign, there's 6 or 7 different initiatives to fund and supply paper to local artists, and that's the only reason I can still keep it sustainable and afford to, on the fucking scale we go at as well, and the turnover we go at. Sustainability is not cheap, and there's a responsibility with, if you are looking to be truly sustainable, who you are sourcing that paper, how they treat their staff, or how they tie into the local area, how they support local businesses. And I'm so lucky to have, they're literally about a 5-minute walk down the road from me.
Sick.
To be able to walk down there, pick up my papers. Enough times I picked it up, get out with a Stanley, and I'm like, dude, that looks a little different. And not many people around the globe can be able to do that with that company. It's like, they did lectures at my university, and they were kind of one of those brands I always wanted to work at, or with, sorry. And yeah, it's pretty amazing that they've been able to support our vision in terms of supplying these sustainable products. No air miles, no nothing on my end. It's all on foot. And it's all very tangible. You're meeting the guys, you're speaking with the fucking geezer packing the paper, and they hold a responsibility over. They have incredible schemes for their own staff as well. And if I'm going to try and print something unique on a material that's ethically sourced, sustainable, and conscientious of where it comes from, why they're doing it, what you're doing with it, they're the best guys you could ever fucking print with, and put this sustainable products into place. I mean, it'd be impossible otherwise. It just wouldn't be possible.
Sick. So, tell us a little bit about some of the events and some of the projects. So we touched on the Italian one earlier, but you've done a fair few in your years of existence.
Yeah, we went a bit crazy with it for a while. We kind of couldn't be stopped for like a couple of years. There was like a feverish work for it. It was pretty insane. And kind of these events were kind of to blame for that. I think we was quite innocent at first. We had all of these great ideas, and we've seen a lot of these things in cities we've lived in over the years, and we've all gone to galleries and local pop-ups or restaurants where we thought, this is amazing, or maybe they could have done that better, or we're definitely going to get the train back to the city to check this place out again. And all of that shapes the event really. My brother was, still is, sick chef, and I think through that I love food, I love my wine, I love my drink. I've been a bartender for God knows how many years, and through that we have these kind of rich networks across cities of food, wine. We've kind of got an idea of what's going on, what spaces are doing something in terms of why we spoke on G.F. Smith, doing something that we're trying to achieve, actually trying to do something that probably you'd look at on paper and go, you're morons. But in reality, you make it fucking happen. And yeah, you are probably working like 10-hour days and the weeks running up to it. I'm like, fuck no, what energy. Lentils and good food, really. But once you unveil it all, there's nothing that can beat that energy. Just people interacting with it. I mean, it's insane to see how that's grown over the years, um, and how all the networks that we bring into it have grown too. Uh, with the food, the wine, the DJs, the musicians. I mean, we were lucky enough last time at Dive. Shout out those guys, HU5, Princess Avenue. They're all like pretty much DIY or die dudes. They built a fucking place themselves. They don't fuck about. We managed to print all of these T-shirts about a metre away from the Stone Brick Oven Pizza. That, funnily enough, was doing not a rebrand, but helping them hit their vision, and them not being like, here's a space and some fucking crazy pizzas and a bunch of lovely people to help the vision happen. And even with that, like, to see how far they've come since I first worked with them, and vice versa, it's crazy. And watching all these networks grow around you, it brings us back to that sustainability again. Like, an ecosystem is not healthy if it's just one person demolishing the farmland, replanting the same fucking palm tree in tight rows endlessly to make sure the toilet paper makes a profit. It's not right. You've got to make sure everyone's eating, and through that, there's growth. There's stuff popping up all over the shop. There's young'uns popping up being like, oh yeah, I've got this idea, do you want to do this event? And you're like, who are you, bro? Like, I've never even seen your shit, and you look on theirs, and then you're like, and like, it helps you see what's around you. And it's then just a never-ending ecosystem of like wealth and restorative. Everyone's somewhat eating. You might still be splitting the tin of beans on first in half, just in case. But usually everyone's paying their invoices and everyone's pretty happy to engage with these events, and vice versa from me take on. Dude, I've said yes to some crazy shit that I should not have said yes to. And then years down the line, you're like, wow, why and how did we do that? But some of these things were fucking incredible. But at the time, it's just white hot stress. Fuck. And yeah, it's funny, through all of that, there's been a lot of growth. I mean, in Hull especially. I mean, I come back from university being quite spoiled, being near London, living with like Italians, Londoners, all of this. I'm from up north, you know what I mean? And when I got back, I was gobsmacked. So like, there was stuff happening, but not as much as there should have been. And now there's so much kicking off, because everyone invests in each other's time. And I think time is free, but sometimes there's not much of it. And I think that's kind of why we do these events. We don't charge entry. We put a lot of time into them and make sure they're exactly how we want them to be. Writing whole menus. Each time we'll work with the space and write out a whole new menu for the day usually, with stuff that links contextually to what we're doing that day. Or we get guys in that can do it. Dude, we look like the guy's called Stretch Pizzas, Neapolitan style. When we worked with him, we was persuaded him to lug these fucking massive gas canisters up a floating flight of stairs to the second floor of this art gallery space brew that we put out. All of those guys are beautiful humans, and for some reason let us do that. I don't know how safe it was, but it happened. And then months later, little to our knowledge, I'd be at the fucking Whitworth, and he'd be opening his own restaurant. And it's just funny to see how just investing in each other, not in any financial measure, in terms of just, I'm publishing a guy from Rome, we need some banging food, I know a guy that can do Neapolitan pizza, let's bring him on, let's put some try and put some money in his pocket for his effort, and hopefully that enhances the experience. And it's the five senses with these events. You've got sight, sound, touch, taste. I don't know if we're covering the five too easily, but we've got four. And we always try and dominate a contextual thread through them all, in terms of the DJs and all the other practitioners that are involved, alongside the installation, the curation. All of this, when you break it down in words, sounds ridiculous, and we don't often do. But there's a lot of time and effort that went into this style of doing the events the way we do. And it is literally a pop-up gallery with usually some sort of pop-up menu attached to it, small plates, a wide menu attached to it. Then we usually go on for 12 hours. Well, sometimes we've had 10 guys playing across the day. Last time we had 5 or 6, and all of these guys are usually connected in some way to what's being shared in the gallery or someone I'm publishing, or if not contextually. And through that there's a real growth between everyone up north at the moment, I think. The event's underpinned it, otherwise it'd just be me on a MacBook at the end of the day. And that's not that fun, I don't think.
Yeah, but it's sick because it's just like community building, right? It talks about ecosystems. It's bringing people together in one place and bringing people from all different areas, which I feel like a lot of, because especially like essentially like photo book publishing is very sort of niche, or like all visual arts are quite niche in their own ways, and people struggle to get people to come out for stuff. So combining everything is seemingly a solution to that problem.
Yeah, it's just doing it with conscientiousness, and I think we can only achieve that through all the other ecosystems we've been a part of, all the other things we've seen, and going to the restaurants where there was gallery shows in them. I've never seen that till I was in like cramped big city spaces where there ain't much room, and the guy who owns the wine bar might know the geezer that paint bizarre paintings but don't have the money to book a gallery. And the guy in the restaurant just don't have the money for these paintings, but together cool things happen. But yeah, it can be a task, I'll say that much.
You mentioned there were some crazy projects you said yes to. What's been like the most out there thing?
The craziest project I said yes to, probably. There's been a lot. I think even saying yes to the most recent thing we worked with, disregarding the Dive project you spoke about, was a film festival. These guys, Unthinkable Film Festival, and there was a gallery show under the name Bravo. I'll tell you what, I think I said yes to making a book 2 weeks before. And we turned it around and it was beautiful. But I wasn't told how many artists were in the gallery show. And that was pretty work intensive. But I think the most out there was probably saying yes to all of the restaurants we've worked with. And some of these locations are beautiful, and we've been privileged to work with them. And I think the most out there, almost ridiculous thing a lot of the time is we'll have to work under, like I just said, these kind of deadlines. That can be crazy. Sometimes you have a month and you're rating a space the night before a show. After the service in the restaurant's finished, you've got chefs running between your feet, ladders here, there and everywhere. You're asking these lovely owners, can I do this, can I do that? No nails in the wall, all this kind of stuff. Whilst there's usually just 4 dudes in snapback doing bombed out shit. A lot of the time we figured hanging from the ceiling is the best way. And sometimes we've been crawling around on a restaurant floor at like 2, 3 in the morning. Fiddling with bits of string and like hole punching and then putting metal ringlets into pieces of paper. But we're talking over like hundreds and hundreds of times. You all sat there with empty bottles of wine. You might have had a few, and you can't do it anymore. And you're thinking, shit, we have to be here at 10. We might as well just fucking stay and get the cunt done. And at that point, there's nothing but grit. You got to have like people around you that want to be there. You got to have, and this is what I mean. A lot of the time we say yes to shit. No one's done it before. I ain't done it before. The restaurant owner hasn't done it before. We've done restaurant service to a high standard. I've done galleries to a high standard. But mash these fuckers together with no budget. Now you've got a minefield. And a lot of the time it is that you are fucking you I don't know, I used to say, if you fuck about, you find out. And I think a lot of the time that has been the case. And then through that, you tackle the beast, you foolishly accept the thing again. Because usually we've been lucky enough for these things to go well. And it's like not a lot of the time anything to do with one particular person involved. It's because we've brought so many like-minded people that someone's going to show up amongst all of these guys. And then through that, when you see that and you're rubbing your eyes, sometimes you haven't slept, you're getting wide on flat white, and you're all a bit jittery, thinking, fucking hell, all this was on the floor like not that long ago. That wasn't meant to be there. How the fuck's that still hanging off the ceiling? Because you know it got up there. Right? So it's a bit like touch and go when it's getting that close to the wire. But it always, and this is where we shoot ourselves in the foot, we never just like settle for the easy option. Like I'm sure we could have just got sticky back, and many people have said it, and just poppy frames with a bit of alcohol on it. Bad dog shit. If we could elevate something off a fucking ceiling, off the wall, use spotlights, get cast shadows, the thing's going to be coming down tomorrow. I don't have £500 to spend on frames. And there's an honesty in not framing something. Because I'll tell you what, I've brought things that have been framed and took it out of it and gone, that's just a piece of paper. But I feel like the way we curate the shows, we've seen people just blue tack them to the walls and they look sick. You don't have to go the way we do about it, but we choose to. And I think that's a lot of the time where the craziness comes. It's self-fulfilled. A lot of the time no one's asking us to.
But it adds something to the show, right? It pays off in the end. It's worth it. It's just at the time you're doing it where you're sat there wondering why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking in front of me now and I can see like there's a pile of pizza boxes up here. Bags, all sorts of shit to kind of just package a t-shirt. But people don't always see the hours that go into like you being stood upstairs above a bar in this crazy storeroom with a drum kit in the corner. Up to the pizzas to your left. You're watching clips of the footy on your phone rested in the corner. There's a ball that you have to lean. That's the day just to lean over and get a good nice light on it and still get the finished product we do and then go about it in the way we do. Like most people would have done the t-shirts and go, that's enough. You know what I mean? And then we'll look at them and go, maybe we put the t-shirts in the pizza boxes. Let's do that. And you spend another 4 hours stuck in that back of the room, dodging the drum kits and the chef as he comes through to grab stuff. And then you see it all laid out and you think, yeah, that was well worth it. And then you're like, what do you put these boxes in? You put them in a bag. we never stop in terms of just trying to like, we don't just put it in a bag. We'll like, do you know what I mean? We'll screen print everything. If you're getting a bag, you don't just buy a bag. If we're trying to make sustainable books, the booking bag has to be sustainable too. That has to be eco-friendly. And every decision has a knock-on effect. And I think having an awareness of decision making is probably where a lot of the craziness comes from. We can't just knock something out. We can never make it that simple.
But that's the magic of it, right? That's what just makes it special for the people coming, and actually makes it stick out to them, because there's a lot of people just doing the easy thing nowadays. Like, it's terrifying amount doing like basically the path of least resistant version of art and creativity. So, you know, it's a good way to almost separate yourself from that kind of noise.
Definitely, yeah. I can agree with that. There's a lot of noise. What you picked up on there is kind of the path of least resistance is what I see a lot of. I feel like you're entrenched in that culture a little bit at the moment. But I don't know if art is maybe. I mean, that probably stems from everything systematically. I mean, we can just talk to each other on a phone, it's insane. Before we'd have had to have made the journey, or if we didn't make the journey, replan. Everything's so accessible. And that's kind of another thing with the events that you touched on. It makes something that maybe isn't so obvious, like an independent publisher, it's a bit more accessible. But definitely not using the path of least resistance. I'd say maximise resistance.
Which is, yeah, just sick in its own way, right? It's such a fun way of working, because you end up encountering and pushing through different obstacles and challenges, which, you know, if you're not doing that, you don't really feel like you've achieved anything.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time it is putting something into like an idea into reality is an accomplishment in itself, man. I mean, like, even looking at publishing now, there's not that many books. There's a lot of, I mean, I work in the industry and it's editorials that are like online now. Yeah, I haven't encountered many jobs corporately where I've handled any printed media. It's all to be pixel based. So yeah, I feel like there's an importance in that. Through the events you can share this physical product. Through that physical product you can get all of these people involved.
Well, it's just so tangible, right? Compared to everything being on a screen and devoid of anything beyond that.
Fucking hell, man. I mean, we're trying to definitely continue making even more high spec bespoke books, and that's one thing people have challenged me with, like, why go that route? Why spend even more time and potentially money into creating something more complicated? And again, it comes with that tangibility. That was speaking about, maybe we should archive these books. We've made like a lot of them now. There's like a lot of them now. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but we're way over double figures like a year ago. Yeah. And I've been sitting on the fence about a hard book, like a lovely bespoke high spec. Kind of like how we do the publications, that thick and phonetic. And yeah, a lot of people have just been like, why don't you just archive it on Wix? I'm like, I don't want to fucking archive it on Wix. I want a badass book that I can open and like potentially I do have things or some grandkids. So, Do you know what I mean? Like the records I love, in all these record boxes cut in my fucking house. And all the books I love to the right of me. I don't know what I do.
Of course.
15 minutes.
Just before we... What?
Sorry,
you go, sorry, I cut you off there. That's my bad.
No, it's fine. Let's click off the button. Hey, sorry. Sorry, it was blocking your face, dude.
It's all good.
I'm put that out.
I was just going to say before we wrap up with that, is there anything else you wanted to touch on or talk about? Get off your chest.
Yeah, man. Possibly like you guys, what you're doing. I mean, I didn't even know too much until I collaborated with Connor.
Right.
I know he spoke on your podcast not too long ago, really. Or at least it seemed online. And how do you get into the networks you do?
It's, I mean, bizarre. I mean, we also do events here, so that's how we met a lot of the people in sort of the like local vicinity and stuff, and also just being, because we're born and raised here, so we've managed to kind of weasel our way into places just from growing up here, right? And then
I love that, yeah, so
yeah.
I can put my hands up to that.
And then as well, like, to be honest, a lot of it can be attributed to this podcast and a podcast I did before, which was a slightly different one before we moved into this space, but just that format of like, well, I know there's interesting people, I just need an excuse to like talk to them, right? So it was like opens up that door of just being like, hey, do you want to come talk about what you do on a podcast? And then suddenly I understand who people are and what they do, and they're suddenly aware of us as well. So that's a little bit, and just, but even recently I've realized that the podcast, although it gives like an end productive product and kind of gets all these voices on record, which is cool because then it shares it back to other people in the community, realistically just talking to people, like,
Yeah.
you know, people,
It's perfect led, right?
yeah, it's that way, in the simple way, right? It's just talk to people, and then you get to know people, and then you find out they do interesting stuff, and then just connecting the dots. That's why I was so sort of excited when obviously I reached out to you and found out what you were doing. I was like, oh, it's kind of similar but somewhere else in a slightly different format, but like what you were talking about like community and ecosystems is like definitely along similar tracks to what we're trying to do here in another place that isn't necessarily a place that people are like aware of massively, outside of a few like random pop culture references throughout, you know, the last.
Yeah, you're very right there. Yeah, and I like the honesty in terms of kind of speak and things will happen.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Been a lot of our process. I hate the word organically or naturally and all of that, but just having a chat. A lot of the time, something cool happens. And that's kind of how a lot of what we've come to do has come about. Through a little chinwag, maybe a pint, bumping into someone, and all of these conversations lead out to a lot of other things and projects you might not have ever considered or even known existed, really.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I don't know about where you are, but where we are, people, it has a reputation for like being a place with nothing going on. So
yeah, it's always going on, is what you'll hear.
But then you find these little pockets, and it's just everyone's doing stuff, just not necessarily connecting with each other, and that's what's stifling it before it even gets started.
Yeah.
And it's like
Like
everyone.
Get About was the whole kind of tag along to start with, which sits intrinsically with what you're saying there. Like, get about. Drop the A for an R, we're all from home, none of us use vowels. Whole is all about. And like you're saying, it is that simple, just linking people together. And sometimes it doesn't work, but I feel like over the years you get better at maybe knowing who to bring into a room together.
Yeah, and it's kind of like throwing like, or like having a birthday party and deciding who to invite, isn't it? When it's like a smaller group, it's just knowing what like groups of people you know will work together well and should be in contact and stuff. So yeah, there's definitely been examples here of stuff like not quite working, but as you keep doing it, it's like, oh, okay, you start to notice the patterns and get kind of good at pairing things. Basically, is what it comes down to, isn't it? Just going, oh, you're doing this, you're doing this. Why aren't you both together doing this? And then they go off and repeat the process, and then it just keeps growing and growing and expanding, and hopefully to the point where it's like your involvement 10 years ago, that little nudge you gave them, is completely irrelevant to what like spiraled out of it.
Yeah, that's one thing I do love about the whole kind of idea of feeding the local ecosystem in terms of independence and everyone. You're not always going to be holding hands skipping along, sadly. But if you put like the right people in the right room, the really like the sparks come, and like something unique will come out of that. That can't be like replicated. Like there's an availability in chance, right? You can't always forecast everything, and sometimes just letting the weather roll in and seeing what happens and doing your best to document the process.
Yeah.
We can really do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes a thunderstorm isn't awful. Or like a hurricane works out.
Very stressful for us can look amazing for everyone else.
Exactly. It can come together. But yeah, man. Thanks for taking the time on your Friday evening to sit down and do this with us.
It's a pleasure. I'm somewhat gutted I couldn't get down, but potato potato. I'm sure we'll make something happen soon. Definitely.
Yeah,
I need to see that studio, dude. It looks amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, man. And likewise to getting up your way as well when you've got stuff up. Hopefully we can all meet in the middle or something. There'll be some way to make it happen. But yeah.
We should definitely.
I understand. Alright. Thank you, man. And I'll
enjoy your weekend, dude.
You as well. Alright.
See you soon, man.
In a bit. Thank you.
See you soon, dude.